Tahm Kench has always been a strange, yet memeable support champion. Since his inception, Tahm Kench's identity has always been in question. Is he best in top lane? Is he best as support? Do I play him as an AD carry? One thing is not in question, however, and that is that as time has gone on, the pick rate and popularity of Tahm Kench has consistently gone down. Coupled with that is the fact that since his release, Tahm Kench has rarely seen his win rate spike above 50%. And even lower than that 50% is his average 44% win rate in the support role. However, all that being said, there is one Korean player who seems to have found the recipe to finally unbench the Kench. LuXiaoFeng is our Korean Tahm Kench support main who stands head and shoulders above the rest. While little is known about him, and he appears to be playing on a Smurf account, he's only level 49, his statistics and performance on Tahm Kench in the support role are undeniable. After what looks to be purchasing the account after it was boosted to Gold 1, he began to play his favorite support champion from Season 10, Pantheon. He found regular success in the lower ranks, being able to easily outposition and outdamage the majority of players. With such a high MMR and win rate, he quickly moved into Diamond, where he hit his first wall. Pantheon support was regularly losing to the stronger engaged supports of Season 11, falling short to Rel, Thresh, and Alistar. And while LuXiaoFeng started to switch to playing many of these champions himself, he knew he needed to do something different if he wanted to continue to climb. He dumped Pantheon support completely in favor of these more meta supports, and also found the perfect counter to them in Tahm Kench. His performance with Tahm Kench is completely unmatched at his level, pulling a 72% win rate over 47 games and pushing him all the way into Master Tier 260 LP, where he continues to climb to this day. If you think of Tahm Kench, there's a few reasons he isn't seen as a typical support pick. For one, he's somewhat awkward to play, having a much different playstyle and kit than the majority of the other tank supports that dominate Season 11. Also, his kit generally takes some solid communication between the team. Both his Devour ability and his ultimate have the potential to be very strong, but can result in disaster if you and your teammates aren't on the same page. Tahm's range is relatively short, and his Q or Tongue Lash is really the only ability you have in lane to apply pressure to the enemy. And finally, he's a demon toad that represents the foibles of mankind and an individual's inner flaws. Does this mean we're all afraid of being fat? Regardless of all these problems, LuXiaoFeng has found a way to make it work. Before the game even starts, LuXiaoFeng is debating whether he should pick Tahm Kench or not, and that is part of what makes him such a great one. He won't pick Tahm Kench into enchanter supports like Yuumi or Janna, because his most valuable ability in Devour will largely go unused for the majority of the early game. He likes to pick Tahm Kench into CC heavy supports like Thresh, Leona, or Rel. He will also look at the other champions he is facing, and if Devour can completely negate some of their abilities, Tahm Kench is an even more valuable pick. Another reason to pick Tahm would be if he has a Fasting Senna AD carry on his team. Fasting Senna could be a whole other video on its own, but to keep it short for our Tahm Kench video, Senna can scale just as well with more souls as she can with items, and if she doesn't farm, the amount of souls that drop is much higher. Tahm Kench, on the other hand, can scale very well with items, hence why we see him more often in the top lane, and he can also help Senna achieve her goal of staying safe while farming these souls. And really, just all in all, they're just a strong lane that helps cover each other's flaws pretty well. Moving into the game at level 1, LuXiaoFeng will level up his Tongue Lash or Q ability. He likes to hide deep within a lane bush to try to get some early harass off on the enemy team if he doesn't have to leash. If he's able to use the slow to close the gap and get 2 additional auto attacks off, his Q will be available soon for him to stun an enemy, typically ending in a 1 trade. If he has to leash, he'll simply try to harass with Q when coming into lane and then establish bush control. Regardless of if he leashes or not, he'll continue to use his Tongue Lash ability from the brush to harass his enemies as much as possible. Level 2, he'll level up his most important ability, Devour, if he's not under immediate death pressure. Depending on the state of the lane, he'll either use this to completely overpower an enemy and spit them back towards his AD carry doing a bunch of damage, or completely negate an engage from the enemy support, safely placing his AD carry in his mouth before they get hit with a full Leona, Rel, or other tanky engage combo. Take note that this ability does a surprising amount of damage if he decides to use it offensively. Keep in mind also that if you're turret diving with Devour and your AD carry takes aggro, or your jungle if they're coming to help you, then devouring them will reset the turret onto you. Although risky, it can help in certain situations. Level 3, he levels up his E ability, or Thick Skin. This is when the lane starts to get very annoying for the enemy team. Thick Skin allows LuXiaoFeng to play a little more recklessly when looking to harass the enemy, as any damage he takes could potentially be healed back up to 38%. It gives him some nice sustainability in lane, helping him shake off a lot of harass and engage from the enemy team, and allowing him to be more of a brick wall for his AD carry. When LuXiaoFeng hits level 6, he'll level up his ultimate, where he'll look to surprise enemies in lane with it, help himself or his teammate to get back to lane faster and not miss farm, or use it to chase down enemies that nearly escape. In rare occasions, he can also use it as an escape mechanism for himself or his team. In solo queue, this ability is harder to coordinate, so he is not afraid to use it more frugally than if he was playing with an organized team. When LuXiaoFeng plays mid-game as Tahm Kench, he sticks closer to his AD carry, where other supports may roam the map more. His outplay power is in his Devour, and if he has no teammate to use it on, then the ability is almost worthless. He wants to stick with at least one of his teammates, since his potential to outplay by himself when he's not ahead is pretty low. He'll typically stay close to his bottom lane partner and only roam when necessary to match the other support's roam. Even then, he's still more kin to hang out with his AD carry until the team begins to teamfight with one another. When LuXiaoFeng is teamfighting as Tahm Kench, he's looking to do 3 things. First and foremost, he looks to soak up as much damage as possible, stepping in front of key targets and serving as an impenetrable front line with his tanky build and shield from E. He also looks to stay next to his carries on his team who are likely to be dove on, saving his Devour for key players who are likely to get focused, or for key enemy abilities that are on longer cooldown, like the Sandra ultimate. Third and finally, he'll look to slow and stun targets with his Tongue Lash ability as his positioning allows. Even at level 1, an empowered Tongue Lash will stun an enemy target for 2 seconds, one of the highest CC times available in the game. And like we mentioned earlier, if an enemy escapes after a 1 team fight, he'll potentially try to cut them off with a well-placed ultimate. Some Tahm Kench tips I picked up while watching LuXiaoFeng. As Tahm Kench, your Devour is your most important ability, and towards the later stages of the game, you should regularly be holding it to save your team. Hold on to it until you know some ability or follow-up to an ability will be fatal to your teammate, and then shoot them out over safety or even over a wall if that is their best chance of surviving. Tahm's Devour can also be used on Scuttle Crab, believe it or not. And since Scuttle does not have an aggro bar, like most jungle monsters, he can easily deliver it to his AD carry while removing its shield for some easy gold if the jungler's not around, and of course it won't reset. Keep in mind that even an unempowered Tongue Lash can slow an enemy significantly. Even at level 1, your Tongue Lash slows an enemy for 70% and 3 seconds. And while stepping this close on another support maybe get you bursted down, it won't on Tahm Kench most of the time. If you have a teammate nearby when you slow someone, it could mean an easy kill. And most importantly, be aware that you can devour your teammates over smaller walls if they are close enough. The range on the ability is a bit larger than simply being melee range, and swooping a teammate from over a wall almost always surprises the enemy team when they're not expecting it. For his build, LuXiaoFeng will change them depending on whether he's playing with a fasting Senna or not. When playing with a normal AD carry, he'll always build a relic shield first. From there, he prioritizes his level 2 boots, building plated steel caps against an auto attack heavy team, mercury treads against CC heavy teams, and boots of swiftness if he's ahead and for additional move speed and play potential. He'll then start to build his mythic item, a locket of Iron Solari, prioritizing health items first to allow his passive to do more damage. Next, he'll build a winged moon plate, which allows him to either build into a dead man's plate if the enemy is attack damage heavy, or a force of nature if they're magic damage heavy. From there, the majority of the time he'll build another winged moon plate and finish off whatever item he didn't build for his 4th item. Or under rare circumstances, he'll build a knight's vow or other health-based support item. If the game goes long, he'll eventually pick up an Elixir of Iron, and for his 6th item and throughout the whole game as a good support does, he's buying pink wards to win the Vision War. With the fasting Senna, the build will remain largely the same, but instead of building a Relic Shield, he opts for a Doran Shield to start. Instead of an Locket of Iron Solari, he'll use his extra gold to purchase Turbo Chem Tank against more slippery teams, or Frostfire Gauntlet against teams with less movement abilities. He'll also swap out the final support item with more tank-focused items like Thornmail or Warmog's Armor. For his runes, he'll pretty much go the exact same page whether he's with a fasting Senna or not. He brings Guardian for his Keystone rune since Aftershock is difficult to proc with Tahm Kench. He brings Font of Life to help with sustainability in lane, Bone Plating because it's just the best rune, Unflinching to allow him to more easily move around in teamfights and when he's focused. He also brings an Inspiration secondary page with Approach Velocity to increase his movement speed after he tongue lashes someone, and Biscuit Delivery for additional sustain in lane. For his flex runes, he almost always brings attack speed to help with applying his passive, and also brings 2 defensive runes, changing out whether he brings magic resistance, armor, or one of each based on his lane opponents. And that's it, y'all. I really wanted to do a Tahm Kench video because he has been a support that has eluded me for a very long time. He seems a little bit daunting to play after all the negativity that's around him, but I think if you play him in the right situations, then it can really work. You already know what I'm going to say. I would love for you guys to go ahead and hit that like button or subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It helps me to, of course, get my videos more in front of you in the future. And then also, I am streaming all of these support games, me trying out all these champions on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday, at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I hope I can see you guys there, or at least in the comments. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day or night or whatever it is for y'all. Peace.